guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Today we're going to jump into the nice try, ma'am. This is actually a picture of a female bodybuilder, but one thing I've been told by, or maybe not told directly, but I've heard many times, is that if people are very vascular, that means that's a good example that they're taking steroids or something like that, and they're not lifting clean. So when I saw this picture of this female bodybuilder, obviously by the size of her and the fact that she's very vascular, either she just finished with 100 push-ups before her photo, or she's maybe taking a little something to help her out a little bit. But the whole point of this is being that, I tell people all the time, watch what people do, don't listen to what they say. Because it's really easy to lie, but it's pretty hard to not judge somebody based on their actions. And the reason why this is important, this is a story I've had out for a week or so, and I just haven't gotten around to it, is because with the conflicts going on right now between Ukraine and Russia, and I have friends in Russia, and I don't like what's going on over there, but I don't think I don't think you can take everything for rote. There's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Fake news, I guess, or there's a lot of propaganda on both sides, and it's been very interesting to watch. I'll leave it at that. But the whole point is that if we continue to get deeper into this conflict, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be drafted, and there's going to be a lot of guys going off to military or to war, perhaps, and that concerns me because this is not something that a lot of young men sign up for, and it's never the people in power putting their own selves on the line, their own lives on the line. It's always using disposable men. And this story popped up, and I said, I want to talk about this a little bit because, the Biden administration, and I hate getting political, but intersectionality and fourth wave feminism have clearly stated that part of it is being in politics. And the political side that they've chosen to get in bed with is the left. And since the left is in power in many countries, that means that men who didn't sign up for this, who don't want to do this, will be packed up and sent off to war if we do not have a resolve to this conflict sometime soon. And that's including Europe. That's including perhaps even Australia, perhaps the United States, because we've also got China that's now ramping up flexing its muscles towards Taiwan. And I think if the United States and NATO get really deep into this Ukraine thing and we end up getting into a conflict there, I think that's when China is going to make its move on Taiwan, and we're not going to have enough people for all of this, and I think things are coming. So I want to touch on this, and then I'm going to be splitting this up into two videos for YouTube, but on locals I'll do it just as one. But the U.S. military, they're basically saying, hey, you know what? Out of shape, overweight people and women are essential. And they're dropping their standards again. And I have 15 examples here of them dropping their requirements, so much so that if you do get drafted in, there is a good chance you're going to be with somebody that cannot have your back, that cannot look out for you, that cannot defend you or won't defend you. I've said it before, if someone's going to be screaming and crying about their pronouns, what are they going to do when, the lead starts flying overhead and you can start hearing those babies zip by and maybe hitting concrete buildings next to you? Do you think these people are going to be the ones to step up and have your six? I don't think so. So they say, yes, the transitioning women must register with selective service in case of a draft. So any guy that says or gets surgery or does whatever and becomes a woman, it doesn't matter. You're still going to be thrown into the military. However, any woman that was born as a woman and then becomes a man is not. So even though you've got people that are saying, hey, you know what? These are real women. These are real men. Not when it comes to the military. And that to me is a double standard. Again, we'll take guys if they were born a guy, but not if they become a guy. Well, why not? If you're going to become a man, if you're going to say, I am now a man, if you're going to want the responsibilities and to be viewed as, and you are now technically, according to modern politics, a man, well, then you should be stepping up and getting in the military just like everybody else. But you see, if they allowed this to go through, then based on their own standards, a guy could just say, oh, you know what, I identify as a woman now, and boom, you can't draft me. And what would happen? You'd probably have every guy that doesn't want to get into conflict saying, well, I'm going to identify as a woman this week. They say would-be draft dodgers can't simply pretend to identify as a woman in order to duck their duties because biological men who identify as women are still required to register with the Selective System Service. Let me try that again, Selective Service System. I zoomed it up and read at the same time. Never a good idea. Almost all male U.S. citizens and male immigrants who are 18 through 25 are required to register with the Selective Service, the agency notes. It's important to know that even though he is registered, a man will not automatically be inducted into the military. In a crisis requiring a draft, men would be called in a sequence determined by random lottery number and year of birth. Then they would be examined for mental, physical, and moral fitness by the military before being deferred or exempted from military service or inducted into the armed forces. While there's not been a draft in decades, Selective Service issued a tweet last week noting that young men are still obliged to register even if they are the last male to bear their family name. Isn't it interesting on the timing of this, that now that we're getting a little bit closer to maybe having something pop off between Ukraine and Russia, where the United States has to openly say that they're stepping in versus doing all their covert proxy war stuff. Isn't it interesting timing that this comes back out? Parents, if your son is an only son and the last male in your family to carry the family name, he's still required to register with the SSS, the tweet noted. The post earned significant attention on social media platform. In response to the post, Jenna Ellis commented, "What is a male?" Someone else wrote, "For the purpose of SSS, my son will identify as a girl starting with his 18th birth date. Checkmate fascists." However, they say, but even in the modern era where liberals regularly promote, let me correct this. This is not liberal. This is leftism, socialism, progressivism, inclusivism, all the other isms from the left. These are leftists. They're not liberals. Liberals, or every liberal that I've ever met, is open-minded and loves good discourse and loves a good debate and will look at the information and try to make a decent decision out of it. These are not liberals. These are big state, big government, big pharma, big military, war hawk leftists. That's what they are. And don't get me wrong, because there's a lot of Republicans that are also jumping on board with this war hawkishness. And I'm telling you, this will come at the cost of the lives of men. That's why I care about this. And I don't want to get all into the military stuff and what's going on overseas, but I'll tell you, a lot of the decisions being made are throwing men against a wall just to be crushed. All for the chessboard movements of our elite and our governments. But they say, even in the modern era when liberals regularly promote radical leftist gender ideology, it turns out, as far as Selective Service is concerned, when it comes to the possibility of a draft, male still means exactly what it always has meant, a biological man. Selective Service bases the registration requirement on gender assignment at birth and not on gender identity or on gender reassignment. Individuals who are born male and change their gender to female are still required to register. Individuals who are born female and change their gender to male are not required to register, the agency notes. Now, one of the problems I have with this is, yes, you can say, hey, you know what? Women are not as good on the battlefield. They don't have that testosterone. And you can see this even in the real world, because most of the time when a woman is scared or shocked, two things happen. Number one, they scream, almost without error. They scream. And the other thing that you can tell is when they're shocked, they almost always cover their face with their hand. And if you look at a lot of the young men that are out there that especially look a little low on the testosterone and perhaps sip too many mocha soy lattes, they do the same thing when they're shocked, okay? So yeah, you may not want the women on the front lines of the battlefield, but if women are so brilliant and so smart, they can sit on the bridge of a ship. They can run electronics. They can do many of these things. Why are we not recruiting them mandatorily? Why don't we draft them and then have them work the administrative jobs while the men go out and catch bullets? I don't like that. I don't agree with it. But it also means that, hey, you know what? You double your forces. But again, they scream equality. They scream, we want to be treated equal until the chips hit the fan. And I know that's not quite how that quote goes, but we're on YouTube. When things hit the fan, why is it all of a sudden women are still given a pass? They always want equality until it comes to, oil derrick jobs or jobs fixing air conditioning out in 110 degrees. They don't seem to be clamoring for those jobs. They sure want them in tech industry and air conditioned offices and at the six-figure, relatively simpler, safer jobs than all the dangerous ones that the men use. But when it comes to something like this, they're once again given a pass. But if we're going to have women in Congress, women in the Senate, we want, everybody screaming for a woman president. If a woman's going to be the commander in chief, how as a president, how is it that she can't even be drafted? That she can pass up on military service, yet she's going to be the commander in chief of the military? These double standards got to go. Like you're going to either be equal 100% or not equal, and you don't get any of the benefits if you're not willing to pay the penalties as well. So this is another example again of it's very, when it's convenient to give equality, they do. But when things get really tough, equality goes right out the window. It's all lip service at this point. And this concerns me because, if things continue to pop off, again, whether it's between Russia and Ukraine, whether it's between China and Taiwan, if things pop off, it is always men that are basically thrown away for the elites and the governments and everybody else to use as they wish to get what they want. But when they don't need men to fight a war for them, isn't it amazing how, again, they can pretty much say that men are toxic and men are disposable and men are unneeded, unnecessary, and they're the problems for all the world. But then when things get going and they need to protect their own borders, they need to make a move somewhere on the political stage of the world, men are the first ones they call, and in this case, men are the only ones they call. I think until we fix this, we got a lot of problems in the world, and that's why I'm telling you guys, I don't care how you feel about things politically. You better start voting against or voting for whoever is against war, whoever is against conflict. Because if we get in this deep enough, you may be going to battle for some cause you don't even care about, and you may lose your life for something that may not be worth it.